everybody, welcome back, Combat Insiders, Combat Weekly once again. Nick Portella, Josh Furs. Real quick, just want to take a second too. Please, guys, we're trying to do a whole lot of stuff here. We do a lot of work, and we work round the clock. Please subscribe to our YouTube. It lets us know, how good of a job we're doing. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, all the good stuff. You know what to do. But just please, YouTube is it's very important. Give us a subscribe and hit the notification button. That way, whenever we have new stuff pops up, it comes right to your feed, and you're able to see all of our content as we drop it, because we're dropping several times daily. So, several times weekly. I'm sorry, not several times daily. That would be insane. But anyways, we had a big weekend. We got another big weekend coming up. We just had Liddell Ortiz. We had UFC Shanghai. Coming up, we have Wilder and Fury coming up this weekend. We have UFC Ultimate Fighter Finale. We have UFC Adelaide from Australia, which our buddy Wayne Carl is there. He's checking all that stuff out. So I guess we can touch on first, before we get to all that, we had a giveaway, and we didn't forget about it. There was a giveaway that we did for Beck Rollins' video, where if you subscribed and liked the video, you were entered into a drawing. Well, we had such an overwhelming response from it. Nick, it took us a little while to kind of filter through the stuff, and we're sorry. We said we were going to get to the results by Monday, but it took us a little more time than that. I guess we drew the names already. In the fairness of privacy, we're not going to say the last names. You will be contacted through either YouTube message or email. We're going to contact you. Nick's got the names. Go ahead and roll that, Nick, and we'll go ahead and...
Well, I actually played a little bit ahead of the game. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel after the Beck Rawlings interview, and your name is Chris, Jessica, or Sean, please go check your email, because the three winners already have emails in their box. Just respond to them, and we'll get set up so I can mail you your prize, your autographed Rowdy Beck Rawlings merchandise.
So, Chris, Jessica, and Sean, come on down! Where's my Price is Right music? Cue that. Come on down! So, I guess let's talk about real quick UFC Beijing. Of course, you called it. I predicted Blades would kind of take Ngannou down to the ground and kind of follow suit with the plan that Stipe kind of laid out. Maybe follow suit, take him down, get him with the elbows like he did with Overeem, but that didn't happen. And Ngannou dispatched him in, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that. So you called it. Give credit where it's due. He wasn't even really He wasn't even able to establish his game plan. It is what it is.
That's kind of why I called it, because Ngannou needs something to get back in the running.
Yeah. And
I believe if Blades would have been able to establish his game plan, it would have been a real long night. You know what I mean? So the idea was to get back into the picture. He had to get him. He had to get him early, which he did. But I do not believe that's the end of Blades. I still wholeheartedly believe he'll be a UFC champion. So Curtis Blades, keep grinding. The fans love you, and it's just levels to the game. He came in hot and heavy, man, and ran through a tough division. He's not done. I just think it played out the way it had to for Ngannou to look for another shot. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I based my entire. That's how I based my entire prediction for that fight. Nothing special, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right, man. I mean, Ngannou needed something big, and I think Curtis Blades, he needed that fight just as bad, And like you said, I don't think Curtis is he's not done. I think he has potential to be a world champion someday. I really do. And
he's young.
And he's still young, yeah. And on the same token, Ngannou too, right? I think Ngannou has the potential to be a world champion. He needed he needed the win to get out of that funk, right? After that fight with Stipe, and then after that weird fiasco with Derek Lewis, he's been in a funk, and I think maybe this gave him that confidence boost that he needed, to see that the Francis that we saw 3 fights ago, right?
Right.
Where he knocked Overeem's head in the outer space, So that's kind of what we saw. We got that Francis back in Beijing. So I guess if you want to move on to the Liddell Ortiz, if we can move on to that. Now, we had Chuck on the night before. We had him on the Friday night before, and was super confident. I think he was confident. I think he believed he was going to beat Tito. You definitely got that sense out of him, and I think that I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what happened, right? And it's no disrespect to Tito or Liddell, because those guys are absolute legends and will always be, no matter what. One fight does not, 1 or 2 fights doesn't determine, their contribution to the sport. It's just,
right.
So but it was nasty. It was a disaster, and
it was just weird to watch. I mean,
yeah.
We watched Chuck's training videos.
Yeah.
We kept up with it. He looked great.
Yeah.
We talked to him the night before. He looked ready. The night of the fight, he just looked stiff. I'm wondering if he had like a rough weight cut and he was dehydrated, or I mean, there could be 1,000,003 things that could have went wrong or caused that.
Yeah.
But like you said, at the end of the day, absolute legend. I do know that he was suspended indefinitely from the athletic commission, but there's also rumors swirling that he might make his way out to Japan for Risen or something like that, which is kind of weird because Tito said, hey, keep fighting under Golden Boy Promotions at the end. And as for Tito, he's calling out? He's calling out Dan Henderson now, and he wants. I don't know. While I appreciate the nostalgia of the events,
yeah.
At what point does it become a safety issue where one of the guys could get hurt? I mean, let's say that would have happened this fight.
Yeah.
Who's to blame? Who the fighter because they wanted it, the athletic commission for sanctioning it. I don't know, but you read the internet and you follow all the social media, and it's kind of crazy that I mean I like Tito, I like both fighters. Don't get me wrong, but the general consensus was Tito couldn't get him when they were prime. He had to wait, until they were both older. The age difference hasn't changed, It's still the same. I think Tito's just been more active, and that's why he looked better. He looked more. He looked ready and limber and ready to fight. I'm still confident, though, if Chuck would have landed one of them bombs, you never know.
Yeah, I think that power never escapes him. I'm pretty sure he still has that power. It's just like you said. It was almost like he really couldn't get going. It's like he couldn't really, his feet, he just seemed stiff, and he was just, I don't know. It was really odd, and Dana did an interview about it. Did you hear that? And
I did.
And he said, it's not a knock on. It wasn't even really a knock on Chuck or really Tito. It's really a knock
on Oscar.
Yeah, it's on Oscar, and it's on the state commission, for letting the fight happen. And like you said, these guys are fighters, and this is what they do, and it's hard to move away from the sport. It's just something that's just in you, right? And how do you... I guess some of these guys, how do you move on from it, right? Maybe it's not all about the money. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is just, just a desire and a burn to get back in there and compete. Maybe there's other avenues maybe they should take instead of fighting at age 58. Props, my hat's off to Chuck and Tito. Like I said, this isn't a matter of disrespect, and I hope it doesn't come off like that. It's not a knock on anybody. But, a lot of people, if I could, I'm gonna take a little sidebar to pro wrestling, right? And I know you love this part when I do this, Nick, but we'll do a quick sidebar, right? So when back in the day, okay, if you remember, yeah, back back in the day, right? So you had WWE, okay, back in the Hulk Hogan brother days, okay, and your Ric Flairs and stuff. There came this other promotion, WCW. They bought all the older guys' contract. So all the guys who were kind of getting out of their prime, but they were still notable, like people still knew who they were, this other company came by and scooped them all up. Now, back then, everybody, there was always this running gag that WCW had. They were like the nursing home of pro wrestling because they had Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and Macho Man and, and all these guys were 50 plus, right? But, granted, pro wrestling this is an apples and oranges comparison. It's nowhere near the same as fighting for real, like, in a cage. This isn't the same comparison, but
right.
It's similar in the sense of these guys still had a noteworthy. Did they really have business being in the ring? I don't know, right? But you have Oscar De La Hoya, scooping up these older names because they are still noteworthy. People know who Tito Ortiz is. People will always know who Chuck Liddell is. People know who Dana Henderson is. People know, all these things because what people figure out is promoting the fighter and making a fighter a household name. That's the hard part, okay? Meaning that once you know that people know who the fighter is or the wrestler is or whatever it is you're running, that's the easy part. The match itself or the fight itself is irrelevant. People have already paid. They've already bought the pay-per-view, right? So if that fight is the worst fight ever in history, it does not matter because they've already paid to see you. They've already bought their tickets. They're in the arena. They're watching on pay-per-view wherever they're watching from. You've already got them just from just from them having that name prior. And it seems like Oscar De La Hoya, maybe he's going that route. Maybe he's trying to scoop up all the guys that UFC spent years trying to build up. And, I don't know. I think it's a, interesting comparison. I think it's, I'm interested to see where they go next. And I don't know if I want to see Tito and Dan Henderson. I would love to see Dan Henderson knock Tito out. But I don't know.
I'll say this. With sidebarring all the should they have fought, is it morally right, is it safe? At the end of the day, for a first promotion, I thought exclude that fight, everything below it.
Oh,
I thought it was a decent,
100%.
I thought it was a good fight card. And I know we watched the Dana White interview, and he had some choice words about Oscar and his curricular activities and everything else. But putting all the bullshit aside, at the end of the day, I actually look forward to their second MMA show, just to kind of see what they do next.
Because you know what? And like you said, that's a good point, Nick. And like you said, regardless of how the Tito Liddell thing went, the rest of the card was decent for what it was. It was a good production. The whole show, like production wise, the show looked great. Okay, I don't have a single complaint about their production, the way they had everything lined up. I have zero complaints. And you know what? I think it's about time because, we can argue Bellator's competition, right? But Bellator doesn't compete with them in pay-per-view because Bellator doesn't do pay-per-view anymore, right? They're just on free TV. They're running a different avenue. They're MMA, so in that sense they're competition, but they're really not because they don't compete in the same avenues like of pay-per-view.
Right.
I think it's great for another organization to come through. That's why I'm excited for one to come in and start doing shows in the States. I'm excited for these other promotions to really start getting big because that competition breeds a better quality. And I think that it's only good for the fans, for the media, for everybody, for the fighters. I think it's good for everybody across the board, because now instead of just competing with yourselves, you're competing with one. Okay, over here they're on pay-per-view.
They're not. You know, it's nice. All their fights stream for free.
Well, yeah, you're right. That was a
From
bad
their
example. Yeah, one does stream for free, so maybe that's
another kind of sidebar about them. I kind of like, because I've been on their global conference call with Chantry, the guy in charge. I've been able to interview Rich Franklin, and I've been covering one for a while. I've always liked it. You know, they acquired DJ, they acquired Eddie Alvarez, and they got the Super Series.
Yeah,
they got some legit names in the Super Series under the Muay Thai and you know, the BJJ and all that. But their plans, like from the global conference call, is they want everything. Not like they just want, you know, their hand in the pot with everything. And UFC's still the big dog. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think if one crosses over and they start having shows in the States, I think that could be your next. The big three, you know what I mean? I think that could be there. Yeah. And as for Golden Boy, I don't want to say they're going to be in the big three or big four, but they're also a step, I think, above regional, just because of they have the capital and the means to kind of go above and beyond, you know, what happens there. So I don't know. I'm excited to see, though.
One piece of not that I can offer any advice because I'm no expert, but just from an outsider looking in kind of perspective, I would have to say that their press conferences, they tried to do an MMA press conference, like a boxing style press conference. It did not work.
No, it doesn't.
It sucked. That sucked. That press conference sucked. They need to not do it like that. They need to figure something else out.
But usually the first time anybody does anything, it's going to, you know, well, it might not suck. You might be lucky. But overall, you know what I mean? I think it's growing pains. I think Oscar went that route because that's the route he knows.
Correct. I get it.
So they'll go back, they'll look at it and be like, all right, let's get the tables out and have these guys out here for the press conference. And I'm excited. I do. I want to see. I always like when new promotions pop up.
Yeah, same here, man. And like you said, I'm excited, and we're excited for what they can put out because, like I said, it's better for all of us. But I guess let's kind of let's move on to what we got going on tonight. So hopefully this comes out tonight. We're recording this on Friday the 30th. So we have the Ultimate Fighter finale. We have RDA and Usman tonight. That fight has huge. It could potentially, affect the welterweight division one way or the other, right? Because if arguably this fight sets up the next title fight after Colby and Tyron Woodley, which it's still not confirmed yet, but I think we all know it should be coming next. Colby and Tyron should be coming next, but RDA and Usman should essentially set up the next fight, the next challenger. I
thought about both fights. I got some thought into both fights.
Yeah? Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
What, prediction-wise?
Yeah, let's hear it. What do you think?
Well, Woodley and Colby is going to happen. It has to happen.
Yeah.
Whether he had nose surgery or they took the belt, they didn't take the belt. I mean, it's just, the next logical fight to make.
Yeah.
I've gathered all my information and intel to make a prediction, and I like Woodley.
Yeah.
So let me just put that out there beforehand. I've never been on the hate train for him or anything, but I will say Colby via 4th round TKO. I think he can out-wrestle Woodley. I think if it turns into that kind of fight, which I think it will, I think he out-wrestles him. And for the fight tonight, I know you're going to get some blowback from this. I've decided I think it's going to be Usman via murder. Yeah. I do. I think it's going to be too much for RDA.
I mostly agree with that. Mostly, I think that I think Usman is going to. I think RDA is going to want to have something to prove, especially after what Colby did to him. So I'm pretty sure, knowing that Usman is a strong wrestler, I think he's probably going to work on his wrestling a little more, and I think it'll probably be more of a stand-up battle between them two, which Usman, he can KO people, he can beat you in a lot of different ways. So he has those tools to KO, and he can stand up. And he is a well-rounded fighter, and so is RDA. I think it probably. I think Usman still wins. I don't know if I have an exact prediction. I do think Usman wins. I'm probably saying unanimous decision on that. Is it really? Okay.
Yeah. As long as Usman can keep RDA's, I think his leg kicks are ridiculous, and he's proved it time and time again. Usman's wrestling's on point. His boxing's on point. If he can keep the leg kicks in check, I think that's just I don't know. That's one of the more cut and dry ones to me, actually. I think
that's a good point. With Woodley and Covington, I actually think it's going to be, for some reason in my brain, I think Colby's going to try to tap him out. I think he wants to submit Tyron Woodley, and I think it's possible. I think it's a rear naked choke, Tyron Woodley, and I'll say I don't even think I'll make it past the end of the third round. I'm gonna say second or third round rear naked choke, because I think Colby is out for blood. I think he purposely wants to tap him out. I think that's what he wants to happen. So
that fight could go two other ways too. It could turn into it could end up looking like Woodley Wonderboy. And on a side note, I know people booed Woodley on that fight, but the reality is Tyron Woodley's job is to go defend his belt.
Yes.
And he fought Wonderboy exactly the way he had to.
100%.
To defend his belt. So
agreed.
He does the job. I was on the fence with him and Darren Till. I didn't know how to that would go, but
I thought Woodley would return pretty easily against Darren Till. I didn't think Darren Till was going to present that many problems, to be honest with you. So but
hey, it's the fight game.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, what's funny, that one was cut and dry to me. Like, when they announced Darren Till versus Woodley, I was like, Darren Till's not ready for Woodley yet. Not to say that I think Darren Till will be a future world champion.
Without a question.
But that fight, that night, I don't know. And that's no knock on Darren Till or nothing like that. It's not a knock on him. It's just that I think Woodley right now he's on that level. And I think Darren Till will be on that level, 100%.
I give him credit for stepping up.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it would have happened. And maybe if they fight again, maybe it might not be the same result. Maybe Darren Till will take that loss and learn from it, and maybe come back and beat him again. I don't know.
That division's wicked, man. The welterweight division's nuts. There's killers everywhere.
But with the Wonder Boy fight, I think that you're right. He fought him the exact way. And I think we talked about this before. I'm sure we have. I'm sure we talked about it all 1,000 times. But it's fascinating to me how much crap Woodley got for that fight. And like you said, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. His job is to defend the belt. It's the challenger's job to beat the champion, not the other way around. And
the other one where they did that to him was the Maya fight too. Remember, they said it was boring.
Yep.
But the reality is, how many people can stuff, 20 plus takedowns?
Yeah.
From Maya.
Yeah.
There's not many people that could do it, because that guy's, that's his thing. So shout out Tyron Woodley. I don't have you picked in the next one, but I absolutely understand why he fights the way he does.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's where this Colby fight gets interesting, right? Because I think Colby loves to get right in there, and whether it's for better or for worse, he gets in your face, right? Because Maya kind of pieced him apart a little bit and bloodied up Colby. Colby still won the fight, but Maya pieced him up a little bit. But Colby got in there every single time. He kept getting right back in his face with RDA. He kept getting, he went to RVA. He was the aggressor. And I don't think it's going to be any different with Tyron Woodley. I'm curious to see because most people don't want to get aggressive with Woodley because Woodley has that one knockout power. People are afraid of his power. So therefore, Tyron Woodley, I think, is used to being the aggressor. The only time really you figure, with the exception of say like the Stephen Thompson fight, because those were weird, right? And the Maya fights, those were weird. They were just different fight styles. I think with Colby, I think he's going to get right in there. And I think
he can't let Woodley piece him up though, like Maya did, because it'll be bad.
No. He cannot. I guess moving on too. So we have the UFC Adelaide card. Some of the card, there's guys that maybe you haven't heard yet, but there's a lot of native Australian fighters on the card. I think some of them getting their first shot, to wrestle for the UFC. I think it's a huge opportunity for a lot of those guys. I guess some of those guys, Alex Gorgees, right? He's on the card.
It's crazy because we had him on.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I'm like, this guy's going to be the next one in the UFC. And less than a week, he's on.
And boom.
Suman Mokhtarian. I apologize if I butchered the name. He's another one. Jim Crute.
Yeah.
Coming on. There's a lot of Australian talent. Well, obviously, there's a lot of Australian talent on the card. But there's guys that have real potential to make a move.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And what the main event and co-main was it JDS and Tai Tuivasa, right?
Yes.
And the co-main is Justin Willis and Mark Hunt, right? So Mark Hunt, whenever I see Mark Hunt on the card, okay,
you're like walk-off knockout. That's it.
And I'm not even going to say that I'm not the biggest Mark Hunt fan, so to speak, but I tell you what, when I see that guy on the card, I don't care who he's fighting. He could be fighting Doug off the streets. I'm excited to see his fights because I know he's gonna go for that knockout. He might not necessarily get it, but damn if he ain't gonna go for it, and damn if it ain't. It's almost like it's just like watching an Ngannou fight now, right? Like Ngannou is kind of that next evolution of that. Like whenever you're watching an Ngannou fight, a Mark Hunt fight. Like, at any second, somebody's fucking getting it, right? At any second. And
that guy's got more walk-off KOs. It's ridiculous. They have whole videos just on him. He just lands and he's like, we're good. I'm good. I'm going back over there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I think
he scores a walk-off here.
You think so?
I do.
I think I'd like to see Willis get it because I think he was having some issues, right? Didn't he lose? He's lost his last couple of fights or something like that. Maybe I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I apologize if I'm wrong on that, but I think he's coming. His last fight he lost or something like that. If I'm not mistaken.
And I got JDS. I'm thinking. I don't know. That's a hard fight. I don't know. I'm taking him. I think they're going to beat the shit out of each other,
That's what I think. I think they're just going to beat the shit out of each other.
And I think this will be a classic case of just experience and a veteran of the sport prevailing. That's all it is. That's how I'm going with it.
I think I'm going with Tuivasa on this one.
I can't even be mad about that because I could see it. I could see it either way. It's one of them ones.
I think I'm going with Ty only because I think his last couple of fights, man, he just fucking
Wicked.
wants it. Yeah, you can tell that he is in there. He looks like one of those guys. Like there are certain guys that you see that are great fighters, but you don't necessarily get the impression that they love to fight. Do you know what I mean?
He loves to fight. Like
for instance, George St. Pierre is a great example. He's this great fighter, one of the best of all time. But self-admittedly, he doesn't like to fight. He doesn't like to. But he's good at it, so he does it, and he makes a lot of money doing it. This guy, you look at him, you can tell. I feel like that guy would be fighting for pennies. He would just be in there fucking fighting and beating him from being in front of everybody and trying to knock somebody's head off. I feel like
any man that drinks beer out of a random sneaker that's not yours That's a bad dude.
On top of that, people spitting in it and shit because you spit in it. And no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it.
I would maybe drink the shoe part, but somebody spitting like a fucking loogie in that and then drinking it. No, I can't. I can't do it, man. There, Brendan Schaub. He was on Brendan Schaub's podcast, and they had there was 3 or 4 of them on the show, and they fucking. I think Ty took his shoe off. They all.
Does this?
It was like 3 or 4 of them. They all spit, and Brendan they passed it along. They all spit in the shoe, poured the beer in, okay, and each one of them passed it along, and Brendan Schaub was like, bro, I don't know if I could do this. He's like, I don't know if I can do it. He still did it. And he said it was probably one of the grossest things he's ever done.
Well, we could do a new contest since you keep raffling off a candlelight dinner.
Yeah.
Josh will be happy to do a 10-man shoe drink.
Yeah. Via Skype.
Via Skype. So wait, there's still other big stuff. The weekend, 2 other things.
Yeah.
Dead Serious MMA's having Men of War 4.
Yeah.
The Jiu-Jitsu tournament or Jiu-Jitsu card in the Showboat in Atlantic City. I do not have the card in front of me, but I will be there tomorrow night covering the event. My man Frankie Perez puts on shows. Dead Serious. It's just always a good show. If anybody can get out there to see it, definitely recommend it. And we have Tyson Fury,
Yes.
Deontay Wilder.
Yes. Last but certainly not least.
Yeah. I already got my prediction for this one. This one too. Tyson Fury. And it's because Deontay Wilder's a cool cat, man. Like, that guy is always can't rattle him.
Yeah.
I feel like Fury's in his head because he's making him angry. Now, he may be just doing it to sell the fight, play up the fight, or whatever, but he genuinely looks angry, And, you learn it very early in combat, so you can't fight angry. You can't, it's just, you know what I mean? So I think Tyson Fury's planting the seed, The Gypsy King has a game plan.
Yeah.
Plus, he's a bad dude, man. His resume, 40-0, 27-0. I get it. There's a 13-fight difference. But, he's got Klitschko on his resume. He's got a lot of guys on his resume. And a 2-year layoff. But he looks just ready. He tried to get him to go hard to the body during the press conference, one of them. He's like, let's just punch each other in the ribs, see what we got here. I think he's ready. He looks calm, collected, never upset, Yeah. They do all this, fainting and stuff. I never see him flinch. I don't know. I say Fury. It's either going to go one or two ways. It's going to be Wilder in devastating fashion, which is possible. Because when he starts throwing, man, it's nasty.
Yeah.
Or, like Fury said, he's the Mayweather of the heavyweights. That guy moves very awkward. He's got awkward movement. He throws punches from all over the place. And if you watch his fights, man, he really doesn't take damage, He said in the one interview, I see everything coming. Unless you come up with something I haven't seen, which I doubt. I don't know. It's either going to be, like I said, Wilder in devastating fashion inside of 6, or it's going to be Fury in the latter rounds, 9, 10, 11, TKO style.
Well, don't forget, too, with Ortiz, when Wilder fought Ortiz was beating him up the whole fight. And literally, Wilder pulled that out of his ass at the very last second. So,
and that's an aging Ortiz.
Well, that's true.
I'm not taking nothing from him, but
that's true.
He was on the downslide.
Yes, that is true. But I think it does demonstrate that Wilder has that. He can dig deep, right? He can dig deep and pull it back together, even though he's losing the fight. He can pull it back together and have that heart to come back and get the W.
You want to know a crazy thing about this? He's a great champion. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and again, I'm not knocking anybody's hustle. Every one of these guys gets in there and fight. I wouldn't want to fight any of them. But
no.
I feel like the winner of Wilder Fury trashes Anthony Joshua, because that's next. It has to be next. I feel like the winner of that fight, the only way to stop it is to dodge it, not sign the contract.
Well, the thing is now, too, I think that Anthony Joshua, because, him and Wilder were talking about fighting before the Fury and Wilder was signed, right? And they talked about it being, it was signed, and it wasn't signed, and it was signed, and it wasn't signed. And I think Anthony Joshua has really missed the train here, because this fight, I think it's going to be, it's garnered so much attention, right? Because they're all over. I saw a freaking clip of it on like regular news. You know what I mean? Like regular.
Right.
So like it's garnering mainstream attention, and Anthony Joshua could have been a part of this. It could have been him and Wilder, in this fight, but it's not. I think that Anthony Joshua is missing the boat for that mainstream appeal, because I think, regardless, and I think Tyson Fury made a great point in the press conference the other day, and he said that, and I don't, not for the same reason he says it is, but he says that, even if he beats Deontay Wilder and Wilder loses, Wilder is still going to have he's going to have a bigger name just from being in this fight. And I think that's true for both of them. I think regardless of who wins, they're both going to be more known because of this fight, because this fight is getting so much attention. And maybe it wouldn't have been the same, because Anthony Joshua is not a big trash talker. And maybe because maybe he can't.
This is the perfect fight.
Yeah, I think this is the better fight than Joshua and Wilder, or Joshua and Fury, or what other. I think that the Fury-Wilder combination is the right fight at the right time, and I think because of this fight, it's going to help put boxing, specifically heavyweight boxing, back on the map, because heavyweight boxing has lost. It's been a shell of what it was, ever since the Tyson, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis days.
Even the early Klitschko run, that was kind of, I think, the tail down.
Yeah. Granted, I guess boxing kind of has its cycles, because you had the Foremans, the Alis, the Fraziers, and then it dipped down, and then you had kind of the late 80s, early 90s. You kind of had the Holyfield, Tyson movement and all that stuff, right. And then that kind of died off again, and now I think I'm hoping that it's kind of on its track back up. And again, I think it's good for everybody.
They're very unique, too, in what they bring. Like, they both talk. They're both great at talking. They're great for the press conference. But Wilder, he trash talks, but almost like in an enlightened fashion.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because
yes.
he's real big in religion. He takes that route.
He's very intelligent.
He is. Yeah. And then you have Tyson Fury, who takes I don't know, it's just kind of like, I'm going to smile because no matter what you say, I know I'm going to beat you. He takes that approach to it.
Yeah. He's
always smiling, always laughing. And you're right. I think this is the next upswing, in heavyweight boxing. It's a good fight. Our friend Clarissa T-Rex Shields is going to be there. We've been following her social media.
Yeah. Yeah, so Clarissa, what's up?
Yeah.
Give us a call.
We know you got another fight coming up.
Yeah. It's a great fight. Her, I don't know if we talked about it. Her and Hannah, had that fight a couple weeks ago, and it was an awesome fight.
Yep.
Clarissa got the W. I thought Hannah looked great. I thought they both looked great, and I thought Hannah showed a lot of heart, a lot of determination. She never stopped coming. Never. And
they're both turning around
in
a month to fight. Hannah's fight, I think, will be announced, I believe, today at some point, who she will be fighting next. And we know who Clarissa's fighting. Femke, I don't want to butcher her name, but we know who she's fighting.
Yeah.
She's looking to claim more belts. And I think it makes sense. I think Hannah getting back in there right away makes sense to.
Yeah.
I kind of would like to see the rematch.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Like I said, I think, I think Hannah probably took the lessons that she learned, against Shields, and I don't know. I think it was great for boxing. I think it was great for women's boxing in particular because, like I said, they were going, man, and they didn't stop coming after each other. And like I said, I thought they both showed great heart, and you know, I'd love to get both of them back on again at some point, and good luck to both of them. So they're both doing, I think, great things. So
yeah. I'm trying to think what else we have in the kitty to look forward to.
We got a lot of stuff coming up, man. I don't know if we got a lot of interesting stuff. We're gonna have look for.
We do have an interview coming out of Straight Blast Gym.
Yep.
In Ireland.
Yep. We got some interviews possibly coming out of there. So look for those. We have some interviews with the team MMA Gold out of California. Aspen Lads, Max Griffins. All of them. So we're getting a few of them on, and I believe try to interview as many of them as possible.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I think it's great that we're really starting to get in-depth coverage and multiple interviews with the different combat sports because we are combat insiders, right? With the MMA, the boxing, the bare knuckle boxing, and all that stuff. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. We're really starting to get spread out in here. We're in the States. We have Wayne Carl out in Australia doing his thing, and he is doing awesome. The MMA scene out there is exploding, and he is right there. He's right there at the tip of it. So Wayne's doing an awesome job out there in Australia. We can't thank him enough for his coverage. I think we're all doing big things. And please, guys, like I said at the top of the show, please like us, share it.
Oh, sidebar. Go check out our sponsor, Jab Apparel. Johnny, we wouldn't forget you. Jabapparel.com. I know we preach it every show that how great it is, and granted that it is our sponsor, we were wearing the stuff before he was our sponsor. So I mean, it was a brand that we were into, and it's kind of cool that it kind of came around full circle.
Yeah, 100%. Jabapparel.com. Tell them we sent you. Tell them the Combat Insiders sent you, and they will take care of you. And,
ask for Johnny specifically.
Specifically, yes.
Yes.
But we can't thank them enough, and we can't thank you enough. Our supporters, people who watch the show and watch all our interviews, read the articles, whatever. We can't thank you enough. We have grown so much. And just remember, guys, I mean, me and Nick have both been in the game before, but, our Combat Insider stuff really is just, since September. So really, we have grown quite exponentially since September. And, we've made a lot of headway, but like I said, that's because of you, because of, our fans, whatever you want to call yourselves. Continue to support us. Like I said, if you like it and you haven't followed or liked something yet, please do, because it helps us. It helps us track our numbers and help us figure out how we're doing and, what videos work here, what videos work there, articles, this and that. So please.
Also, if you see something you don't like,
tell us.
Shoot us a comment, man. Listen, we are more than happy to, in a civil manner, chat about stuff. If you feel so strongly about something that you want to talk about it, let us know. We'll bring you on the show.
100%.
It's all good.
Let us know. So with that, we don't want to bore you to death and be a long-winded conversation here, but check everything out. I guess for Nick Portella, for Josh Furs, we are Combat Insiders. You're watching Combat Weekly, and we're out.